You have a guy running a premium account, swiping right on 98% of profiles, getting less than 0.1% match rate, which netted to only one date after 2 million swipes. So frustrating to say the least. Would you not agree? Let's find out why. Here is our friend who was using the app for 5 years and 28 days or whatever it was and 2 million swipes. Hayden, who's 26. And, this is on Tinder, so it's on a public site. So I'm assuming that, if the swiping data is there, he also provided the app data for his, profile itself. It says underneath, if I'm not home, you can find me at the lake. Nothing wrong with that. Looks like, I'm guessing that's some sort of a verification badge. Usually blue badges mean like verified. So power user, paid user, premium user, whatever you want to call it. Hayden put in the money to the app and gave them a lot and got almost nothing in return, unfortunately. So 26-year-old guy here. Yeah. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say is he's obviously not in shape. You can tell by the shape of his face. You don't know what his body looks like. Doesn't mention his height or anything like that. But in the first one, you can tell he's clearly overweight. It's unquestionable to anybody viewing this that with a round pan face like that, he's overweight. Most of your body weight, most of the fat on your body is stored primarily around midsection, butt, thighs area. For guys, mostly like they end up with a pear-shaped, sort of body. So if your body starts storing fat in your face, you're obese. You're not just overweight or out of shape. You're obese. You're considered probably over 25, 30% body fat. I think after 30% body fat, it's basically considered obesity. So this guy's a fat dude. He goes on to say here, if you're not trying to go fishing, I don't want it. My idea of a vacation is going to the desert and looking for snakes for a week. Now, first thing I'm going to say about that is that is just a dumb opener. It's a dumb statement to make to women. You're not going to entice a lot of women. And again, they're not really reading this. So this is his first picture here. You probably moved it around, but they're not even getting to, let's take a look at his photographs because the first one sucks. He's just out of shape, right? So you get to the second one and it starts telling the users that are viewing him a little bit more about him. And it's saying, if you're not going fishing, I don't want it. And he's talking about his idea of a vacation is going to a desert and looking for snakes for a week. I can tell you right now, there's no woman that gets up in the morning. Let's go back to fuller screen so you guys can see that. There's no chick that gets up in the morning is like, gee, I would really like to find a guy that wants to go to the desert and look for snakes for a week. It's not that they don't exist. There's probably a handful of them out there. You might be able to count them on one or two hands from around the world. That might be users on a Tinder app, for example. But the vast majority of women are about vacations in exotic places, elaborate experiences, nice dinners, cool stuff. Boating, nice cars, adventures, like road trips, high-end sort of environments. Chicks like nice stuff. Deserts and snakes are not at the top of the list. You might get some chicks, with a desert, like let's go hiking. What is that place in Arizona? The Vortex. Let's go get in tune with our Wusan energy crystals, sort of thing. I mean, if he really likes snakes that much, he should probably pivot the language in here or deserts and say something along the lines of, I really like the desert. I find it relaxing, and maybe leave it at that. But then he goes on to saying things about snakes. And I may or may not currently own 33 snakes. Telling chicks that you own or may not own 33 snakes, dumb. Again, women like cats and dogs. When they get to a certain point in their life, they usually get a pet. They're very nurturing. They like animals. Cool, no problem. Sometimes women have a problem with collecting too many animals or going a little overboard with their obsession with pets, and they call themselves pet moms, and they'll have birthdays for their pets. Around Christmas time, they'll go to the pet store, and there's a Santa Claus there, and they can take a picture with the pet, and in their little office cubicle doing their important job for the man, they have a photograph of them with Fido or Fufu or whatever, in a little sweater with Santa Claus, and they're posing very proudly, with their pet. So if you're going to talk about pets, probably dogs are a lot cooler. more of a masculine dog, not a fluffy little, Pinocchio type of dog, but overtly stating that you have 33 snakes, bad move. So even if she swipes right or starts looking at other photographs or reading more stuff in your bio, it's just going to turn her off there. Talking about deserts and snakes and owning 33 snakes while in the frozen tundra on a lake holding a big fish. Sure, do women like guys that can catch, like make food appear? Of course, for millions of years, men that could go and provide food for families mattered. That doesn't matter today. You can go to a grocery store. So the fish photograph, and this has been tested many times with chicks, they generally don't like them unless you're a really, really, really good looking guy. You're probably doing yourself a huge disservice posting pictures of yourselves with a fish on a frozen tundra, talking about 33 snakes in your possession and going to the desert for a week on a vacation, shopping or looking for snakes. Next one, we got a guy here with a little snake. Same guy, right? Obviously. He likes country music, memes, fishing, mountains, and camping. I would get rid of the fishing and the memes thing. Again, like the kind of memes that guys like this really like they're kind of stupid. Like they're just memes that like turn chicks off. Again, I don't know how to emphasize this enough. It's just not a good photograph. Now, in the earlier photographs, we could see dude's fat face. You can still see it over here. Now we're getting into skinny fat territory because I see skinny arms and fat face and a little snake. And women are going to assess that and they're going to be like, guy's a dork, right? Which is why he's not getting matches. Hayden, 26, is looking for monogamy. He's a Pisces, if that matters. Has a high school education. Not sure if he wants to have kids. I'm assuming that's a Band-Aid where it says prefer not to say so, his vaccination status. He's a big-time texter, and he likes thoughtful gestures. Again, fat face on a boat. It's not even a nice boat. It's kind of a fishing, maybe even a pontoon boat, I'm guessing, with the canopy and the way this giant bench is over here. So it doesn't look like the kind of cool boat that women like. Women like nice boats, yachts, power boats, speed boats, jet skiing boats, water surfing, ski boats, like all that kind of stuff. Like that's the kind of boats that chicks like, not the boring sly kind. And Hayden goes on here. So what does he do for a living? He's an equipment operator at Don't Worry About It. Doesn't have an education, says none, and he lives in Evergreen. I don't know where that is, but the equipment operator at Don't Worry About It, I would just leave Don't Worry About It out. Like just put equipment operator if that's what you want to put. I don't think that you should be deceptive about what you do for a living. This is obviously a work picture with one of his buddies. I don't know. What does it say here on his hat? Pewag? I don't even know what Pewag is. Maybe, his buddy has the same hat. But again, kind of fat face again, not particularly, handsome or attractive. He's out of shape. And, he's saying that he's an equipment operator, but don't worry about where I work, which is like, just leave that off. You're being a little bit too cheeky in that sense. Again, another fish picture. Hayden, 26, obviously likes country music, and another big ass fish in the photograph, wearing fishing attire on a fishing style boat. Oh, and we have one more fish picture. So there's total, was it 3 fish pictures? 1, 2, boat, snake, 3. So it's 3 fish pictures. Hayden knows how to catch fish, ladies. So if the shit hits the fan, he'll be able to feed you. But the problem is the shit hasn't hit the fan. You can get food at the grocery store. It's not a problem. Slimy, stinky fish on your dating profile ain't going to do you any favors unless you're like a 10 out of 10 type of dude. And even then, a 10 out of 10 type of dude, the fish aren't really going to matter, but it's not going to add more to it for them. And in this one, he's wearing, I don't know what this says over here. It says, sit ya ass on my face is what his hoodie says over here with his fish. Again, he's a skinny fat guy. Now, he kind of looks tall. Like you can tell by the proportions of his height and shoulders. He doesn't have, like, that's one thing that he's going for him is he doesn't look like he has short limbs, short fingers, short in stature. He looks like he's more of a taller guy, and he actually has some shoulders on him natural shoulders with some width, it wouldn't be that hard for this guy to put some serious effort into the gym or working out to improve his physique dramatically. A year's worth of work would net some very, very, very strong results. 2 to 3 years in would completely change the way this guy looks if he took diet, exercise, and sleep seriously, and his results would skyrocket. I have some Twitter/X feedback on the dating profile from social media, which I'll get to in a moment. But right off the bat, pictures suck, bio sucks, his look sucks. He's 26 and doesn't have any hair. I mean, losing your hair is going to happen, guys. You know, I talk about this in my book. I think something like 2/3 of guys end up with visible hair loss by the time they're 40-ish or so, with about a third of it happening for most guys by the time they're in their 30s. So at 26, you know, he's well into losing the vast majority of his hair. I think that's the only picture of him without a hat on, with the exception of this one, which you can see the very high hairline. At 26, it's not the greatest look. I mean, he should have done more to try to hold on to what he had. There's a lot of things that you can do, especially in your 20s, that'll help you hold on to hair. We'll leave that for another video. But I think at some point, if you're at this stage of hair loss, it's like you're holding on to scraps at that point, and that's when I tell guys to shave your head. The beard's not the greatest either. It's like, I mean, not that bad in density and like thickness there, but it's not the best kept. It's tight. It's just not tight enough, in my opinion. And this photograph here just looks bad. So, we're going to close that up. And that's what we got from the initial, Tinder/Reddit post. He looks like your typical Redditor, I think. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here, where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the Courses tab. Newer to the channel? Hit subscribe.